everyone, it is Tony George along with my good buddy Griff Murphy, DocSports.com, college and pro football. As we do each and every week on the Gridiron Six-Pack, I hope we're all back in your good graces last week after a 4-2 week on the show. Kept us around 63-64% against the spread for the season, so it pays to tune in here. And, of course, we are getting into week 8 of the Griff. I can't believe it's over. It's almost half over.
Crazy. I don't know how this happened so fast.
Yeah, and we don't have anybody in the AFC or the NFC that has really solidified themselves as the best team when you're talking NFL. So college, we still got about 7 or 8 teams that can win it all. I mean, all you got to do is take a look at the World Series lineup. It's possible for anybody to get there, for crying out loud. And of course, you're down there in the Phoenix area. I bet they're going crazy down there.
Chaos, man. Absolute chaos. Yesterday, it was lit up outside. Everything was craziness. Pure excitement. I will say, I'm thrilled, man. I'm going to be going to the World Series. I'm going to catch one of the games. I've already been scouting out seats. So, yeah, man, I can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
We'll get right to the football. I tell you what, you got the Rangers laying minus 170 to win the series and Zona plus 150. There's no team in baseball right now in the postseason that should be laying minus 170 to win any series, because anything is possible. I'll tell you that right now. It's been an unbelievable week for football. We got football on every day now. We got the MAC action is starting next week. We've had the Conference USA and Sun Belt games on starting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we had the NHL starting, NBA starting. All these things are available for you at DocSports.com. Be sure and take advantage of the free $60 we got for you. And if you can't figure out the link in the description or whatever, when you're on the website, it's just in the upper left-hand tab of the website. It says free $60. That's what you get. Smash the subscribe button. Get notified when Griff and I got free plays, or anybody has free plays or shows up on Doc's YouTube channel. You're here for freebies, right? Well, get notified when they're up. Come get the freebies. Get over the website, get some premium plays. We'll tell you what's going on over there for this weekend at the end of the show. But let's get to the free plays, and we're going to go to the Mountain West here. And Griff, the Flyboys, they're looking to go 8-0 for the first time since 1985. I was in college. My goodness, it's been a while for the Flyboys, and they are playing in-state rival Colorado State, right down the road there. And they are laying 11.5 points, total 46.5. And, of course, Air Force this year, as last year, bring the number 1 rushing attack in football to the Golden Rams here this week. Interesting in this series here. I don't know which way you're leaning. We never discuss these games ahead of time. I don't know which way you're leaning, but the away team in this series, last 6 years, 6-0 ATS. And the Flyboys are on the road laying a big number. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, rolling into this game, Tony, I picked this game in particular because I watched the entire Air Force versus Navy game last week. And I got to tell you, man, I really did want to go into this thing and bash Air Force. I was not happy with the way they performed by any means. They were actually one of my premium picks over at Docs. I had them at a 5-unit, minus 10.5. The only reason I covered that game was because of a pick 6 with 3 minutes left in the game. Air Force currently is first right now in the country in rushing yards, and Zach Lair is at the helm, and he is absolutely a rusher. They are not a passing team by any means. They are going to run the ball down your throat. That is what they do, and that is what this team excels on. First in the country, they are leading. But I've got to say right now, Tony, as a ranked team right now and 7-0, this is the first time they've been 7-0 since 1977. They have not reached this mark It's been almost, what, 50? It's been a long time, all right? It's been a
Yeah.
long time. And now looking at this team, they've got something to look at. Colorado State comes into this matchup, and they have one gigantic weakness, and that is their defensive line. Air Force, on the other hand, we know what they do. They don't pass the ball. They run smash mouth football. They run it right down your throat. But Colorado State has a very good offense with Nicolosi. He's already passed for 15 touchdowns, and right now this team is currently 4-0 with him at the quarterback spot, rolling
Right.
into games against the spread. So Colorado State, when I originally looked at this game, I was leaning heavily towards Colorado State, and I kind of wanted to blast this Air Force team. But as I dove deeper and deeper and deeper, I broke down the game. I looked at how they played against Navy. We know the history between Navy and Air Force. They always play each other very, very tight. Air Force this season, they've had a very easy schedule. San Diego State was their toughest opponent thus far, although they did put 48 points up against them. So when I'm breaking down this game, the weakness with Colorado State is their defensive line. The strength with Air Force is their attack on the run game. But Colorado State also has a dynamic passing game. They've got 2 receivers and a tight end in particular that already have recorded 6 touchdowns apiece. So breaking this game down, I am seeing a lot of points in this game. Originally, I was leaning Colorado State. I am looking at the over. I am anticipating Air Force to run the ball down their throat, and I am looking for Colorado State to retaliate in that pass game. So, Tony, going into this game, my play is with that total at over 46.5. But rolling into our next game, we've got Purdue at Nebraska. Right now, Nebraska is laying 2.5, your Huskers. Right now, the total is 39.5. This game will be kicking off at 3:30 p.m. Saturday. You can watch this on Fox Sports. This is a Big Ten matchup. Nebraska is coming off a 17-9 victory over Northwestern, and Nebraska's defense played very well, holding that Northwestern's offense ground game to only 81 yards and 0 touchdowns, 3 field goal kicks. Purdue is coming off a bye, though, in this game after getting blown out to Ohio State in a 41-7 matchup. Tony, how does Purdue bounce back, retaliate in this game after their bye week and come into Nebraska and take this game? What are your thoughts?
I'll tell you what, this is an interesting game, and we had Nebraska, we had Northwestern last week, plus the 11.5 on the show, and they lost by 11. So by the hair of our chinny chin chin. So let's ride the gravy train in Nebraska games. You spoke about my beloved Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Yes, sir.
The problem in this ball game here is point-wise, if this was 3, obviously I would want nothing to do with it. The 2.5's attractive if you like Nebraska. But if you do like Nebraska, the money line's 135. So play the money line, take the 2.5 points out of it. You could easily be a 1 or 2 point ball game, but the dog in this series, the last 10 years, is 9-1 against the spread in the Purdue-Nebraska series, and Purdue is a road dog. Now, remember, they had Jeff Brom coaching them, you know, who's at Louisville right now kicking ass and taking names, by the way. But they're 22-6 against the spread as a road dog. But the one thing you mentioned, Nebraska's defense, they are number 5 versus the run in the country. And they've played the 35th toughest schedule up to this point. They are number 16 in yards allowed per play. They're number 20 in college football in points allowed. Now, these are the only top 20 rankings Nebraska's going to see for the next 5 years, because it's not going to be in the coaches or AP poll, unfortunately. But this is a big game for Nebraska, sitting at 4 wins, trying to get to 5 wins, win 2 more games somewhere along the line and get to a bowl. Something they haven't done since Bo Pelini was coaching there. Trust me, I know. I'm a donor. That being said, Nebraska has 3 starting offensive linemen out in this game. And what does Nebraska do? They like to run the football. Give me the under 39.5. This got 17, 13, 13, 10 written all over it. Now, I don't give a rat's ass whether Purdue had 2 weeks off. They stink. So that being said, we'll go ahead and play the under in the Nebraska-Purdue game. Griff, I pulled this one out for you. This is one of the biggest games of the weekend. We like to put some marquee games up on the Gridiron six-pack. Oregon on the road at Utah. Utah, my only loss last week in college football was USC's debacle against Utah. Now, was it a debacle or was Utah that good? Well, one of the main reasons, two reasons that Utah won that game. Number one is Kyle Whittingham is maybe one of the best coaches in college football, and he's a hell of a lot better than Lincoln Riley. Number two is USC's defense is one of the worst tackling defenses and worst defenses I've seen in recent history in college football. I'm talking UConn, Charlotte. I can go down the list to every bottom feeder and doormat you could possibly think of. USC's defense sucks. That being said, this game here is a big one. Utah at home on a very strong home field, catching 6.5 points against the Ducks. And by the way, if you had to just handicap the two coaches, Whittingham is a hell of a lot better coach than Dan Lanning. All the mistakes and bad calls he made in that Washington game, I really thought in that game, and I don't know who you took here. I thought in that game against Washington, Oregon was a better team, but just the coaching blunders and calls, and then of course, you're playing up there in Washington. You just can't give them that much momentum. And I tell you one thing here, going into this game, total 48.5. If you give Utah any momentum at home like you did Washington, you're going to end up with the same fate. So you got to be careful here, Griff.
Absolutely. Rolling into Rice-Echo Stadium, it's never easy for any team by any means. Right now, Utah is 4-0 at home this season. The biggest thing going into this game right now is going to be, how is Utah's offense going to compete with Oregon's defense, and how is Oregon's offense going to compete with Utah's defense? That is going to be the major component in this matchup. Now, when you look at this game right now, and I don't want to get all statistical, but if you look back, Utah has played two solid defensive teams thus far this season, and that is against Florida and Oregon State. And against both of those teams, they did not score until the fourth quarter. They lost to Florida 41-11, I want to say, and Oregon State, they were losing 21-0 in the fourth quarter with, I want to say, 5 minutes to go until they finally scored. Utah is struggling on offense. We know that. Oregon, you already know you got Bo Nix at the helm. There's no room for mistakes in this game for any team, by any means. Bo Nix has already passed for 19 touchdowns. He's got 1 interception. He has potentially one of the best running backs in the Pac-12, if not the nation, with Bucky Irving behind him. We already know Oregon's going to score points against anybody. They've proved it all season long. Their defense has been put to the test. They have faced, with giving up points, Washington, they gave up 36 points against Washington. Well, that's the number one passing team in the entire country, led by Michael Penix. Then you look at the other side of it. Early in the season, they beat up on Texas A&M. They won that game. They allowed 30 points, but they won 38-30. So Oregon has put themselves established on that defensive side. We already know what to expect from their offense. Looking at Utah now in the Pac-12, and this is where I don't like to get statistical, but I'm going to have to right now. In the Pac-12 for Utah right now, they are currently third to last in points per game in the Pac-12. They are second to last in total yards offensively. They are second to last in third down conversions, and they are dead last in passing behind Bryson Burns. He has 4 touchdowns on the season and 3 interceptions. Right now, looking at this game, I don't know how Utah is going to manage to score points against Oregon. Oregon's managed to prove themselves all season long against any defense that they've played that they're going to produce points. Utah, on the other hand, yes, they just snuck away with the win against USC. But looking at this game last season, Oregon did take this game in Eugene 20-17. I'm kind of looking at this matchup in one of those games where earlier in the season, when Oregon opened up against Colorado, both teams went head-to-head 3-0, and that line opened up at -17. All these Utah fans are seeing, hey, we're getting 6.5 points at home. This is a potential elimination game for the Pac-12 title matchup. Oregon is going to come into this game hot. There is no room for mistakes. But my play is I have Oregon running this game, and I have them beating them by at least a touchdown. I don't think Utah's offense is going to be able to sustain with this defense. So that is my play rolling into this game. Oregon minus the 6.5 points. I've got Bo Nix lighting them up. Go ahead, Tony.
Just thinking, too, if you've watched Utah at all this year, they don't really get going offensively against good defensive teams the second half. First half line play here would probably be 3.5, 4 if you wanted to even go first half in it, and then do an in-game wager in the second half too. If you're scared of that number, just a thought, because I was actually looking at that for a play, and one of the themes that popped up when I was handicapping this game was Utah's slow starter.
Yes, very much so, and they've showed it all year long. They're really not scoring points on that offensive side. And I don't think Bryson Barnes is the guy. I don't like him at the quarterback spot. I don't think he's the guy. They just can't wheel and deal this offense right now. And that's the biggest problem for this team. So unfortunately, I love Utah, but unfortunately, Oregon is the better team. And my play is rolling with Oregon. But rolling into our next game, Tony, we've got the your beloved Kansas City Chiefs, baby. Kansas City Chiefs at Denver Broncos. Right now, the Broncos are getting 7.5 points, total 46.5. This game will be kicking off Sunday at 4:25 p.m. Eastern time. You can tune into this game on CBS. Chiefs coming into this matchup, AFC West, 6-1. They're 4-0 right now in the AFC West. Denver is currently 2-5 on the year, 0-4 in the AFC West. Broncos are coming off a spirit-lifting victory against Green Bay last week. How do the Broncos sustain this Kansas City Chiefs defense and get Russell Wilson going on that offensive side?
Well, they haven't got Russell Wilson going all year long on the offensive side.
Nope.
What the hell do you think they're going to do here? Kansas City, statistically on defense, if you think about it, the worst placement ranking they have on the defensive side of the ball is 5th place in all defensive categories. This is the best defense Patrick Mahomes has ever had. The problem is they can't get the offense clicking yet. They just, it's not firing on all cylinders. They looked better against the Chargers last week. Obviously, pretty much if you look at Kansas City in the AFC West division here, they go to 5-0 if they win this game. They pretty much have locked up the division. I mean, what, the Raiders going to beat them? Wait, Raiders can't get a lap dance and spearmint rhino with a fistful of hundreds. I mean, they're terrible. They're probably never going to have their head coach. I mean, you go down the list. Patrick Mahomes is 29-3 since he became a starter against AFC West opponents. And never has he lost to the Broncos. He's 12-0 lifetime against the Broncos. 19-8 first game. Bear in mind, Kansas City has a big date on deck in Frankfurt, Germany next week with the Miami Dolphins. Give me the under 46.5. The first game was 19-8, KC by 11. And Denver, no matter how crappy they are, seem to always give Kansas City a little bit of trouble. They can't beat them, but they give them a good ball game here. And I think second time around, Sean Payton is a good enough coach to figure out how to plug a few holes in the dike, so to speak. They held KC at Arrowhead to 19, So I think this is going to be an underplay here. Kansas City looked very attractive in a teaser at -1.5. If you wanted to go there, I'm not willing to lay 7.5, especially, it's one of those situational spots. Kansas City's on a big, hard-fought game against the Chargers, and they got Miami Dolphins on deck. So who are overrated, by the way. You saw that the other night, but we won't go there. Griff, we're going to go to down in the land of barbecue and Cowboys, and that would be the LA Rams traveling to Dallas, -6.5, 45.5 in this ball game here. Dallas off a long rest off that Monday night win against the Chargers, where they did struggle. 2017 ball game. That's after they got completely blown off the map by the 49ers, which looks like a worse loss the way the Niners been playing the last couple of weeks. So anyway, the Rams travel. And of course, the Rams out-yarded the Steelers pretty much like everybody that plays the Steelers out-yards them, and yet they lose to them. So interesting game coming in here. Dallas laying 6.5, total 45.5.
Yeah, this one, Tony. So that's the biggest thing right now. So we know with this Rams team, their offensive line is banged up. They are banged up and they're getting blown up. They do have a very struggled offensive line. But now that so Kyron Williams is out and you've got Freeman now in the backfield, I will say though, when you have Puka, I don't know if anybody caught his catch last week, that toe tapper. That was unbelievable, ridiculous. Then you got Cooper Kupp. It was unbelievable. It was one of the best catches I've seen all season. I literally. And then you've got Atwill on top of that. You have three receivers that manage to find opening spots at all times. And Matthew Stafford, 36 years old, I want to say, he is the perfect quarterback for this offense. He knows how to release the ball quick enough right off the snap. He knows when to tuck and run. He's not afraid to get hit, and he knows how to find his receivers. And he's also got Higbee on that tight end spot. They are a dynamic offense, and they are going to score against anybody. I don't care whether they're playing the Niners, even though the Niners kind of got a little bit of exposure on Monday Night Football. Whether they're playing the Niners, whether they're playing Dallas, who Dallas has a phenomenal defense, this team offensively will score points against anybody. They have an awesome offense, and they should have won that game against Pittsburgh. If you look back on the track record, there was a lot of penalties that ended up going in the Pittsburgh's favor. I actually had Pittsburgh as my 6-unit best bet. That was my top play on the NFL slide, so I will take that by all means. And then you roll into Dallas with the Cowboys right now. And they're coming off a bye. And yes, they did get that win. And that is definitely something on the road, beating the Chargers 20-17. And then you get yourself a nice bye week to relax and really accumulate and absorb that victory. You still got Dak Prescott, and everybody's ripping apart on Dak. Everybody's uncertain what's happening with him, this and that. He's got 6 touchdowns this season. I want to say 4 picks. But if you look deep enough, Dak's thrown 3 of his 4 picks in the fourth quarter when the game's already been haywire over with. Dak's actually performed really well this season if you look deep enough. Against the Chargers, he threw for a touchdown, I want to say 230 yards. They've got Pollard in the backfield. They've got CeeDee Lamb. And you know they have a very good defense. But as I've mentioned earlier, this Rams team is going to score against anybody. And I am anticipating that this offense with this Dallas Cowboys team is going to be prepared after that long bye week, coming off of Monday Night Football, and then getting a bye coming into this game. I'm expecting a lot of points with this matchup. So Mike McCarthy, not my favorite head coach in all of football, but you know what? He does run a solid offense. He runs a solid offense. And looking at this game and breaking it down, I think this over-under is a little bit under what it should be. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. Defensive side of the ball, we know Dallas is very good defensively. The Rams are not. Rams, offensively, they're going to score against anybody. My play with this one is going with the over in this game at 45.5. That is my play rolling at this game. What do you got there? You got over or under?
The only note that I had for this game, because I was introducing it, 45.5 over.
There you go. All right, we're on the same page. Perfect. There you go. Perfect. And last but definitely not least, Tony, we've got Jacksonville rolling into Pittsburgh. We know Pittsburgh obviously coming off that win. Pittsburgh is getting 3 points at home in this matchup. We have a total at 41.5. This game will be kicking off Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. You can tune into this on CBS. Pittsburgh coming off that huge come-from-behind win against the Rams last week. Pittsburgh had 8 penalties in this game and turned the ball over punted the ball 5 times. Kenny Pickett tossed for 230 yards, did have 0 touchdown. And Jacksonville, I mean, what an incredible overcome obstacle they have had. They were in London for 2 weeks, won both of those games, beating the Bills and the Colts. Then they fly back home, have a Thursday night game against the Saints, prevail and beat up on the Saints. This team right now is completely steamrolling, whether they're home and away or away. Tony, what is your take on this game with Jacksonville and Pitt?
I'm going to pull a fast one on you. Sorry, everybody. I'm not giving you this game. I got digging into this game, and this is going to be a 7-unit play on Sunday.
Okay.
However, I'm going to give you my 2-team 6-point teaser of the week. Now, I was going to put 2 teasers on my premium card this week because, quite frankly, folks, there's a lot of chalky numbers out there. Okay, you got to be careful this weekend. There's a lot of landmines right now in the NFL, but 2 teams I think that are really going to get it done. And usually when I have 7, 8, 9 points, Griff, I really like to tease up the underdog, like I did on Monday night. I did a same game teaser, with San Francisco. Everybody says tease San Francisco down; they're going to kill the. No, I took the Vikings and teased them up, to get 12 and a half, 13 points. And I took the total I thought was going to go under, and I teased it up and took the under. Now, these 2 games here, I'm not teasing the underdog. I'm going to take the Chargers, tease them down to 2.5 over Chicago with a second-string quarterback no one's ever heard of on the road. Though, yeah, they won, but they only threw for 150 yards. Chargers are a very good football team. They've had some bad luck this year. All you got to do is who's the better quarterback in the game? Well, it's going to be Herbert. And if I can get him less than a field goal, I'm going to get it. And the other team, give me the Ravens. Tease them down. These 2 teams laying 8.5. Give me the Ravens, tease them down to 2.5 against Arizona. Zona now is without their running back Connor and Zach Ertz. And they're on a second-string quarterback that is not performing like he did at the beginning of the season because people are figuring him out. Dobbs. I'm telling you what, and the Ravens to me look like the team to beat in the AFC right now. Now that they've got it together. And they look better than Kansas City. They look better than Buffalo. I've been telling you on this show for 4 weeks, Buffalo's no good. They're an average AFC team. You saw it again last week. The Dolphins have played 2 good teams all year and got motorboated by both of them. We talked about that on the show last week when I gave you Philadelphia for free. Wasn't even a game. Give me a break. So, yeah, give me the Ravens and the Chargers in a 2-team 6-point teaser. Folks, very quickly, we're going to tell you what's going on the website. I potentially could have my college football game of the year on Saturday. I had a 3-1 week last week. Top play on Ole Miss hit. Week before, top play, North Texas hit. We got college kind of straightened out. My NFL is on a 12-5-1 run, you heard. 6 to 7 unit play on this Jacksonville Pittsburgh game. Once I got to digging into that, I saw some things under the radar that I've seen over my 30 years that are lurking below the surface, so to speak. They're going to come up and bite somebody in the ass this weekend. I'll tell you who if you get over to Docs and get the package. Also, I just wanted to mention very quickly, we'll ask Griff what he's got going on. Just get over. Our picks are up there on Thursday. Go over and see what we got. It's Wednesday. They're not all finalized yet. And by the way, since we're doing this Wednesday, if you're listening to this later in the week, some of these lines may have gotten stale on the show that we talked about. But I have absolutely been beaten up the prop market big time, especially in the NFL. Plus $3,395 to the good since October 8th. Ladies and gentlemen, the last 3 Sundays, over $2,500 or $2,250 or $2,520, something like that to the good on Sundays. Monday nights, I don't take a lot of the games on Monday nights because a lot of times they're trap lines, or a lot of times they're crappy lines, or a lot of times they're lines that are very sharp. But you know where I'm finding money-making opportunities? In the prop market. You could get 50% off any prop card from me this weekend. 50% off. Along with all these free picks, when you pull up the package, there's on my profile page on the website, daily picks for $25. You get them for $12.50. $12.50. You can't get a Happy Meal at McDonald's for $12.50. Come on. Let's make some money.
Arby's.
Arby's is worse. There's a box. There's a box on those packages where it says promo code. Promo code is TGProps50. TGProps50. Follow me on Twitter at TGeorgeSports. I'll post it up there as well for those of you that have remedial retainage issues, So anyway, get over to check me out. But we got a big weekend on deck. I'm seeing the board extremely well. And we did have a 7-unit setback last week in the NFL. We had a 2-2 day, but 12-5-1 run over the last 4 weeks. That ain't chopped liver. We're consistent. Get on board. What do you got going on, Griff?
Well, Tony, I'm gonna just say it how it is. I'm rolling right now. I across all sports, hockey, NFL, and college football. I swept 2 weekends in a row in college football, 5-0 run. I did take a loss last night on a small unit play. I had Louisiana Tech, and they actually did not cover them. Oh, I know. It was brutal. Laying the points. I ended up taking a loss there. I had not lost in over 2 weeks prior to that in the college football slate of things. I am going to be releasing 3 games on the college football side of things, including my 7-unit best bet. And on top of that, in the NFL side of things, I'm currently on a 10-5 run. We are going off, as I mentioned earlier, I had Pittsburgh as my 6-unit best bet last week. We capitalized on that one. I will be coming back again with another 6-unit best bet in the NFL slate of things. 3 plays college football, 3 plays NFL. We are sticking to the script. We are not going to fix what is not broken. Straight, simple. Simple as that. I've got 6 plays going out on football. We are red hot. Even in NHL, I'm on an 8-3 run, and I've got a top play going out tonight. So we're going off, Tony. That's what the weekend's looking like.
Well, if any of you doubted that Griffin Murphy had a big set of balls on him, anybody that'll put out Pittsburgh for a top play on the road's got big cojones. The size of Alpha Centauri, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, we appreciate you tuning in. Leave us your comments in the comments section. We have to filter out the F-bombs and the haters. And we love our haters, by the way, but we got to filter out, other competitors trying to give you their links to the Super Lock of the Millennium page where they're 90% lifetime against the spread when the wind's blowing out of the west. So we're going to get rid of all that for you. We will answer your comments. Griff does a better job at it than I do. We appreciate you tuning in. Any final words, Griff?
No, just ready to lock back in. We're fired in. We're locked in. Last weekend, I did not perform that well on the show, and now it is my job this week to get you guys fired up and get you guys some victory. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put them in the win column.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got college football. We got NFL. We got NHL. We got NBA. We got golf. We got prop bet markets. We've got NASCAR. All of it.
Stop.
DocSports.com right there. Free $60 waiting for you. Link in the description below. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.